I would like to invite Mr. Narayana Murthy, founder of Infosys, to deliver his keynote speech on economic transformation through innovation and technology.
Thank you, Dr. Lam. First of all, my thanks to the organizers for this opportunity to speak at this conference on this important subject. What is science and what is technology? Science is about creating new knowledge by unraveling the mysteries of nature. Science is about creating theories to explain observations of natural phenomena. Einstein's theory of relativity came because he noticed a difference between what the orbit of Mercury was and what Newton's theory said. Scientists make more predictions about nature using the new theory created. Experimental scientists verify these predictions. If these predictions are indeed true, then the theory is accepted, else they look for new theories. Engineering and technology, or the orderly and deliberate process of applying scientific knowledge to a specific situation to create technology to overcome a limitation posed by nature. Steam engine, telephone, air conditioner, refrigerator, television, cars, and internet are all good examples of the success of engineering and technology. There are some policy planners who believe that investment in fundamental science has no applications in engineering and technology. Let me give you some examples why that is not a correct assumption and why these nuggets of useless knowledge are indeed useful, as Abraham Flexner, the founder of the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton, once wrote. The GPS that we use today would have been inaccurate by a whopping 7 miles but for Einstein's theory of relativity. Similarly, there would have been no DVDs, no laser devices, and no LASIK surgery of the eyes without quantum mechanics. There would be no PET scanners without the famous equation of Einstein that E equal to mc squared. Technological invention is about creating a new man-made device or a process to do things that we could not have done earlier. Motor cars, phones, mobiles, television, washing machines, light bulbs, projectors, computers, and internet are all good examples of invention. Innovation, on the other hand, is about exercising the power of human mind to create a better way, a more efficient way, and a more cost-effective way of doing things with processes and devices that we have already invented. Improving the speed of computers, electric cars, faster internet, Internet of Things, and 4K TV are all good examples of innovation. What is national development? National development can be defined by two parameters, both of which help in improving the quality of life of a nation's citizens and improving the future of a nation. They are Human Development Index and Per Capita Gross National Product, GNP. HDI is about how well the citizens of a country are impacted by the various public goods provided by a country to its citizens, like education, healthcare, nutrition, shelter, quality of life, and other public facilities. In some way, per capita GNP with a low Gini coefficient measures how well a citizen is empowered economically to lead a good quality of life for self and family, save enough money for a better retired life, and to move towards a higher level of HDI for himself or herself and his or her progenies. Why is technology important for national development? Technology is about death of distance and time. It is about raising productivity. It is about planning and improving the quality and speed of execution of projects. It is about improving comfort, improving education, nutrition and healthcare, improving governance by enhancing transparency and accountability, reducing cost of products and services, and improving quality of goods and services. Friends, who needs these more than the poor people and the emerging nations? Most importantly, technology is a great leveler, providing the same quality, the same courtesy, and the same speed of services at the same cost to everyone, whether you are rich or poor, powerful or weak, urban or rural, and educated or uneducated. Therefore, technology enhances the confidence of the poor, the weak, and the disenfranchised in a nation. More developed a nation is, higher are the figures for per capita revenue productivity in the private sector, per capita GNP, tax collected as a percentage of GNP, HDI index, expenditure on public goods like education, healthcare, nutrition and shelter, public infrastructure, foreign direct investment, Hong Kong is a great example of that, exports, imports, number of patents, number of inventions and innovations, and impact of these things on the lives of its citizens. Therefore, every nation aspires to development to improve these parameters for its citizens. There are two levels at which a nation can aspire to achieve a better level of invention and innovation. One at the microeconomic and public administration level, and second at the macroeconomic or national level. I would like to talk about how innovation can be fostered at these two levels. First, let me talk about innovation in the corporate level, both in the private and public sectors, and of course in the government too. Innovation has to become organic in an institution. To do so, everybody at every level, in every function in a corporation or in a public function, has to ask three fundamental questions in what they do every day and to achieve improvement in what they do every day. They are, how do I do whatever I am doing today faster tomorrow? Number two, how do I do whatever I am doing today cheaper tomorrow? And number three, how do I do whatever I am doing today with a higher level of quality tomorrow? Second, the institution must create an environment of openness to new ideas from all its stakeholders, employees, customers or citizens in the case of a government function, and vendors, meritocracy, hierarchy of ideas rather than hierarchy of seniority and age, tolerance towards failure, and emphasis on youth, imagination, speed, and excellence in execution. These attributes must be measured every year and benchmarked with the country's best and the global best comparators every year. Number 3, every institution must reserve a day every year called the Ideation Day, when only people with new ideas, and particularly those younger than 30, make presentations on their new ideas to make the institution a better one. The senior people in the organization will be the audience for this. The best ideas should be awarded prizes, and these ideas should go into a detailed evaluation mode. 4, the institution must create a mechanism to evaluate the selected ideas from stakeholders objectively to assess its impact on the future of its stakeholders. Employees whose ideas are selected by this mechanism must be provided enough resources, including time, to develop these new ideas into successful pilots with a sense of alacrity. Successful pilots must be adopted quickly across the entire institution. The institution must reward them and must institutionalize the idea if it is indeed a good one. 5th, there must be a knowledge database where the ideas, experiences, expertise and skills of every stakeholder are documented electronically in a format for key-based searches so that the stakeholders need not reinvent the wheel. Both the authors and the users of such knowledge nuggets on this database should be awarded what I call knowledge currencies, which can be converted to actual cash by these stakeholders, mainly employees, at the end of the year. So you create an incentive for people not only to put more and more ideas into that database, you also create an incentive for people to use those ideas. 6, wherever possible, customers who have good ideas on improving the services or products of a corporation or even a government institution must be involved at every stage to get feedback from them. 7, every institution should spend a certain percentage of revenue in creating and running programs to update the knowledge level of employees constantly to keep pace with the changing technology and the marketplace. There should be a leadership academy in every institution, both corporations as well as government functions, to train promising youngsters in leadership areas so that they can indeed become future leaders. Now let me come to the issue of improving the invention and innovation in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and mathematics at the national level. I believe that a robust level of higher education is at the heart of this task. I think Hong Kong is a great example, Singapore is a great example, I think China is a great example of the success of this policy. What can we in Asia do to improve the national development using innovation in STEM? I believe that the following steps may be useful to create a world-class system of higher education. First, identify grand challenges like cleaner water, cheaper healthcare, nutrition, cleaner air, alternate energy sources, cheaper and better housing, removing traffic congestion, and etc., 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 and hold STEM competitions among the youth in a country. Create mechanisms for the winners at the national level to participate in international grand challenge competitions with the best in the world in these STEM areas. Second, reduce the stigma associated with failures so that the fear of failure is reduced among the youth. Third, increase interactions between the STEM students and academicians of our own countries with those from countries that have performed better than us. Next, encourage greater investment in higher education in STEM subjects. Create scholarships for bright STEM students to study in advanced countries. Next, create sound laboratories and encourage private sector to invest in such infrastructure as part of their corporate social responsibility. Use attractive tax exemption schemes to encourage such initiatives. Next, create venture capital institutions and encourage VC firms from one's own country as well as from abroad to provide venture funding to bright young entrepreneurs. Next, teach primary and secondary school students STEM theory through understanding the mysteries of nature, like why is sun red and yellow early mornings and in the evenings? Why do we weigh less on moon compared to Earth? What happens if we go 150 kilometers above us? Is it dark out there or is it blue like here? Do we see sun out there 150 kilometers above? Or why does a magnet always point to north? And finally, how can we experience the fallacy of seeing the sun rising in the west? I want all of you to think how you can actually see the sun rising in the west. There is one specific instant when you can actually see the sun rising in the west. I want you people to think about it and explain it using physics. Anyway, next, allow schools to revise the syllabi in STEM education, often keep pace with advances in the field. We have to benchmark the syllabi, the methods of teaching, and standard of examination in STEM subjects with advanced nations. We have to create honors version of basic STEM courses in colleges for the 10% or 15% of the brightest students, covering double the syllabus in the normal version, and by conducting tough open book examination. That is the only way that we in Asia can also emulate the West, because if you look around you here, almost 100% of these inventions and innovations have come from the West. Let us be very, very clear. Yes, some countries like China, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Hong Kong have done some innovations. There is no doubt about it. But inventions came primarily, there are small exceptions, from the West. And that has simply happened because examinations do not measure your rote learning, but they measure how much you have understood and how you can solve problems of nature. Anyway, introduce bright undergraduate students in STEM subjects to research programs and associate these students with doctoral and postdoctoral students. Honor high achievers in STEM areas as role models for the youth in the country. Improve the independent thinking of students by insisting that PhD and master's degree students in STEM areas define the problem for their thesis by themselves without any help from their guide or cohort. This is one of the good things about the US. When you go and do your PhD, you have to define the problem. In fact, I asked my son, what was the toughest thing when he did his PhD in computer science? He said the toughest thing was defining the problem. Once I defined the problem, the rest was easier. So therefore, I think we have to encourage our children too to define the problem independently. Well, folks, I believe that these steps are likely to make Asian nations perform even better in invention and innovation, to solve many of our problems, to improve our economies, and enhance the quality of life of our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank Mr. Murthy for his inspiring keynote speech.